Hello everyone, my name is Anushka Saxena and in this video we will continue reading chapter 21 of class 11 biology, that is neural control and coordination. So let's get into the video. 21.5 Reflex Action and Reflex Arc. You must have experienced a sudden withdrawal of a body part which comes in contact with objects that are extremely hot, cold, pointed, or animals that are scary or poisonous. The entire process of response to a peripheral nervous stimulation that occurs involuntarily, that is, without conscious effort or thought, and requires the involvement of a part of the central nervous system is called a reflex action. The reflex pathway comprises at least one afferent neuron, that is receptor, and one efferent, that is effector or exciter neuron, appropriately arranged in a series. The afferent neuron receives signals from a sensory organ and transmits the impulse via a dorsal nerve route into the CNS, that is at the level of spinal cord. The efferent neuron then carries signals from the CNS to the effector. The stimulus and the response thus forms a reflex arc as shown below in the knee-jerk reflex. You should carefully study figure 21.5 to understand the mechanism of knee-jerk reflex. 21.6 Sensory Reception and Processing. Have you ever thought how do you feel the climatic changes in the environment? How do you see an object and its color? How do you hear a sound? The sensory organs detect all types of changes in the environment and send appropriate signals to the CNS, where all the inputs are processed and analyzed. Signals are then sent to different parts or centers of the brain. This is how you can sense the changes in the environment. In the following sections, you will be introduced to the structure and functioning of the eye, that is sensory organ for vision, and the ear, which is the sensory organ for hearing. 21.6.1 Eye. Our paired eyes are located in the sockets of the skull called orbits. A brief account of structure and functions of the human eye is given in the following sections. 21.6.1.1 Parts of an eye. The adult human eyeball is nearly a spherical structure. The wall of the eyeball is composed of 3 layers. The external layer is composed of a dense connective tissue and is called the sclera. The anterior portion of this layer is called the cornea. The middle layer, choroid, contains many blood vessels and looks bluish in color. The choroid layer is thin over the posterior 2/3 of the eyeball, but it becomes thick in the anterior part to form the ciliary body. The ciliary body itself continues forward to form a pigmented and opaque structure called the iris, which is the visible colored portion of the eye. The eyeball contains a transparent crystalline lens which is held in place by ligaments attached to the ciliary body. In front of the lens, the aperture surrounded by the iris is called the pupil. The diameter of the pupil is regulated by the muscle fibers of iris. The inner layer is the retina and it contains 3 layers of neural cells, that is from inside to outside, that is ganglion cells, bipolar cells and photoreceptor cells. There are 2 types of photoreceptor cells, namely rods and cones. These cells contain the light-sensitive proteins called the photopigments. The daylight, that is photopic vision, and color vision are functions of the cones, and the twilight, that is scotopic vision, is the function of the rods. The rods contain a purplish red protein called the rhodopsin or the visual purple, which contains a derivative of vitamin A. In the human eye, there are 3 types of cones which possess their own characteristic photopigments that respond to red, green and blue lights. The sensations of different colors are produced by various combinations of these cones and their photopigments. When these cones are stimulated equally, a sensation of white light is produced. The optic nerves leave the eye and the retinal blood vessels enter it at a point medial to and slightly above the posterior pole of the eyeball. Photoreceptor cells are not present in that region and hence it is called the blind spot. At the posterior pole of the eye, lateral to the blind spot, there is a yellowish pigment spot called macula lutea with a central pit called the fovea. The fovea is a thinned out portion of the retina where only the cones are densely packed. It is the point where the visual acuity, that is resolution, is the greatest. The space between the cornea and the lens is called the aqueous chamber and contains a thin watery fluid called aqueous humor. The space between the lens and the retina is called the vitreous chamber and it is filled with a transparent gel called vitreous humor. 21.6.1.2 Mechanism of vision. The light rays in visible wavelength focused on the retina through the cornea and lens generate potentials or impulses in rods and cones. As mentioned earlier, the photosensitive compounds or photopigments in the human eyes is composed of opsin, a protein, and retinal, an aldehyde of vitamin A. Light induces dissociation of the retinal from opsin, resulting in changes in the structure of the opsin. This causes membrane permeability changes. As a result, potential differences are generated in the photoreceptor cells. This produces a signal that generates action potentials in the ganglionic cells through the bipolar cells. These action potentials or impulses are transmitted by the optic nerves to the visual cortex area of the brain, where the neural impulses are analyzed and image formed on the retina is recognized based on earlier memory and experience. 21.6.2 The ear we will read in the next part. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day ahead.